Good afternoon. My name is Georgia Feisty. Welcome to our second annual Transgender Day of Remembrance. Yeah. I'm honored to be here with you and these brave and extraordinary women in these troubled times. As I spoke to friends throughout the week, my thoughts turned from the darkness I felt on Wednesday morning to finally land on the realization that each of us must continue to shine, love, and support each other. Once our grieving has subsided, and it's okay to grieve, we must continue to fight for justice, equality, and be a beacon for freedom by building communities of individuals who feel the same as we do. Today is a day of remembering those transgender and presumed transgender humans who lost their lives to violence in 2023. Prior to the reading of the names, we have two speakers who will remind us that the trans experience is a human experience and share how we might become a safe shelter in the world. Today is also an opportunity for all of us to ask the questions we've always wondered of a panel made up of 4 trans women and 2 women from Mama Dragons who are mothers helping other mothers of LGBTQ plus children and grandchildren. They are asking for all of your questions, and they don't want you to worry about it being too personal. These women are willing to be open and vulnerable with you, and they encourage you to do the same. If you do not wish to stand up and ask your question, because we're going to have people with microphones down both of these aisles, we have provided cards in the pews for you so that you can write your question down. You don't need to sign your name. We will pick them up while the panel is getting seated. And finally, at the end, the exciting part that, people have waited for months, we will be drawing the winning tickets for the rainbow quilt, so generously made and donated to us by Al DeHope and Keith Harder. And for the rainbow pony, made by a member of our crafting group, which is perfect for you, a child, or a grandchild. When you leave, you'll see a basket for a love donation at either door. The proceeds will be given to the Trans Experience podcast to upgrade their equipment so they can expand the number of podcasts they're able to make throughout the year. Right now, they're paying for a room with the equipment that they need. Please give as you are able. We will have refreshments in the foyer. We invite you to mingle and converse with all the participants in the event today and take the opportunity to connect with each other and us, share stories, and build community. It's vital that we create safe spaces where everyone feels heard and valued. The conversations we have today can help break down barriers and foster understanding among us. As we remember those we have lost, let us also celebrate the lives and contributions of those in our community who continue to inspire us every single day. Their courage in the face of adversity reminds us of the strength that we possess as individuals and as a collective. Together, we can create a world where everyone, regardless of their gender identity, feels safe, supported, and celebrated. Thank you for being here today and for your commitment to this important cause. Let's continue to uplift one another as we move forward in love and solidarity. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Hayley Holliday. Hayley has come to us from the San Francisco Bay Area, where she lives with 3 other trans people, and is well respected for her work testing AV equipment. She loves music of many varieties and enjoys riding her motor scooter, probably up and down the hills. Hayley is Deb and Bill Bontadelli's child for 30 years and her daughter for the last 10. Hayley will be sharing how she has received support in her journey from family and friends, and would like to give us some ideas on how we can be that shelter for the people in our lives.
Hello, all. Thank you for coming today. I had no idea what the turnout was going to be, so it's really encouraging to see all of you here. As I start off as our first speaker, I hope that we're all here with an open mind and, more importantly, an open heart. As a transgender woman, sometimes the world is not kind. It's not hard to see from news, media, and maybe even the actions and words of people around you. There are signs that we're unwanted. It's difficult to describe unless you've personally lived it, but a trans person going out into the world can encounter a lot of signs, both big and small, that we aren't welcome. And seeing that every day, it's hard to know who your allies are and who you can be safe around. If you are here today because someone you know is trans, a family, friend, someone that is important to you, I'm here to hopefully share a few ways to show that. Because the most important way, in my mind, to be an ally is to reach out to those in your life and show them that they are loved. So let's start with love. This is most important if you have a trans person in your family, of course. So how do you show love? And that's a question that I'm asking you. Are you the grandparent that spoils your kids rotten or feeds them till they can hardly walk? Are you a talker who's always calling your family or friends up saying, how are you? How are you doing? Maybe you're more quiet, like me, but you give the best hugs. If there's a way that you would show a non-trans person love in your life, do that to your trans family, because that's a power that you already have. And the more unique that is to you, the more it means to those that you're reaching. And that and a lot of what I'm saying today might seem simple and obvious to you. And it is partially the point. I want to, in some way, demystify the trans experience. Georgia already said that the trans experience is the human experience. And I'm human. I do want to be loved in a human way. Talk to other humans around me and be a part of humanity. Because we are all beautiful people. And sharing humanity is what makes life itself beautiful. And sometimes it is that simple. If you heard or hear someone in your life is trans, there can be a lot of confusion and apprehension. What does that mean? Where do I start? And what if I mess up? Well, maybe you will. But if you don't start, if you don't try to reach out, they will never know that you support them. And I said at the beginning that it is hard for trans people to know where your allies are, who they are. And that is just as true out in the world as it is in our personal lives. So tell us, speak out, say, I love you, I support you. And if you don't understand what's going on, you don't understand their identity, you can say, I don't understand yet, but you are still important to me. And there are, of course, questions that you have that can be difficult or awkward for trans people, especially if they're figuring themselves out. But it is simple to start building an understanding. What do you want to be called? How do you want me to refer to you? And those questions, they say I'm there for you. So do say something. Because if you stay silent, that apprehension you feel is tenfold from a trans person who has to keep wondering, do I have people that support me? And a lot of trans people, they are still figuring themselves out. So be patient, It is important to come with patience because it's not important to fully understand yet. And you definitely don't need to understand to show love. Let me share a personal story. When my mom, Deb Bontadelli, called me up and asked to visit her for this ceremony for Trans Day of Remembrance, I don't want to say I was shocked, but it was surprising to hear that her organization was doing this ceremony. That's not because of any judgment for those that are doing this ceremony today, but because for me, for other trans people that I know, Trans Day of Remembrance is very, very personal. It's a moment of silence for those we've lost, a reflection of the year that came past, and a resolve for the year to come. In March, we do have the Trans Day of Visibility, and that's when you usually see events where we say, we're here, support us. And so to hear that my mother was part of something that was celebrating Trans Day of Remembrance, honoring those that we had lost, honoring the sorrow we feel, I felt supported. At that point of time, I didn't know I was going to be here, and I especially did not know I was going to be speaking to you all. But my mother was part of something that said, I support you, and I'm participating in this because I love you. So if you are here today, you're sitting in these steps, in the pews, that is a powerful first step. If you are here to understand, you're doing great. We have the panel later on. Please feel free to ask us. That's why we're here. So I wish you all the best, and I wish the trans people that you love the best as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Hayley. So I am excited to introduce our keynote speaker. Elgie Gonzalez is a Guatemalan trans woman and caseworker for Crossroads Incorporated. She is the co-hostess of the podcast Trans Experience, which helps people see the trans experience as a human experience. I think you're going to hear that a lot today. That's one thing you should come away with, right? Elgie understands the consequences of othering and belonging. For othering led her to addiction, and belonging brought her back to life. She is someone who has fought to have a spot in life, in the community, and someone who has triumphed. As I have come to know this woman, I have found her to be smart, warm, and funny. I think that you will find something to enrich your life in her speaking today. So here she is, Elgie Gonzalez. You don't need the stick.
Hello. As y'all, excuse me, as y'all heard, my name is Elgie. My pronouns are she and her. And if you have a smartphone, you might need Google Translator. So pull it out now, because I do have an accent from time to time, and it gets stronger as I get more nervous. So one of the things that I want to give credit to one of my co-hosts is the whole trans experience is the human experience. And that's my friend, my sister, Maddison, because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to relate here to everyone that's present. First and foremost, I appreciate your presence here because it shows that we do have the support. I think that today is a day of remembrance. Today is a day to acknowledge those who have been silenced. And I think that we've been silenced enough. And it's time for us to speak up and for us to let others hear our voice. The fact that you're here today, we appreciate it because it embraces us to do just what I just said. Usually I always go off the grid and just, like free ball it. But I think this deserves a bit more than just my wittiness and my quickness. I think that this deserves the respect that it pertains to losing people that we love. Losing our sisters, seeing that we don't have a safe environment, seeing that, with recent events, there's a lot of fear amongst the community, and not just the trans community. But just as we did in Stonewall, just as we did in the pandemic, when it came to the AIDS pandemic, together we stand, and together we will thrive. With that said, today we're gathered here with heavy hearts, and to share purpose to honor the lives of the transgender individuals who have been taken from us too soon. The Transgender Day of Remembrance is not only a time for reflection, but also a time to be called to action. A reminder that a lot of work still needs to be done. And I think that events such as this is where it starts. The theme of othering resonates deeply with the trans community. Othering occurs when individuals are marginalized, discriminated against, and treated as outsiders simply because of their gender identities. This harmful practice fosters environments where exclusion, fear, which leads to devastating consequences for those who are targeted. I know that for myself, that's what pushed me to addiction. And given I am responsible of my own life, but the environment and the support that was lacking definitely made me feel that I wasn't wanted. Definitely made me feel that I had no purpose, that I was a waste of space, because I couldn't see me anywhere. I went to AA meetings, I went to a lot of places to seek for help. And there were other addicts, and there were other alcoholics. But I couldn't see my face in any of them. The exclusion that we suffer, it's in every social aspect. It's not just in the church, in the government. It's in the everyday living. And to be able to come to a safe space such as this, be able to relate my story, be able to look at my sisters, my allies in the face and say, thank you. Thank you, because it's this kind of support that got me out of the gates of hell. Because that's where I thought I belonged. I didn't think I belonged anywhere else but there. Because that's what othering did to me. It didn't only just rob me of my family, my friends, opportunities, but it robbed me of the main thing that I needed to pursue my entire life, me. I didn't have me. And because I didn't have me, I used things outside of me because that would that will bring me about, right? Like if I do enough of this, I will get some credit, right? It will give me some worth. And I walked around the world trying to find my worth in substances, other people, and certain things that were not meant for me. Today I have dignity. Today I have a sense of self-respect. Today I have a sense of sisterhood. To the one person up front, thank you. I'll give you the $20 later. But today I have those things. And the most beautiful thing is that I have a connection with something higher than me. Whatever you may call it, whatever it may be for you. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. Because it makes you a better person. And that's what I want to promote today. While I was in the gates of hell, I was able to find people that loved me. I remember the first trans woman that I was able to trust because I might have allegedly, I gotta make sure I say that, I might have been, under the substances of things. And I obviously was irrational. My thinking was disoriented. I was foggy. And I was saying things that were not congruent with anything that we were talking about. But what I saw in her eyes was someone that got me. I saw love, compassion, tenderness, and understanding. She looked at me the way that my mama looked at me before she found out who I was. The level of comfort that I felt with her made me feel loved and understand. Once I met her, everything changed for me. I moved to Arizona. I sought recovery, and there I met another wonderful lady. Because before that, society told me I only had one job, and that's the only job that I could do. But then I see this lady, and she's sharing her story, and that she's successful, and that she has peace, and that she had 25 years clean and sober. When she said that the first time I met her, I was like, yeah, right, whatever. I'm an addict, I question you. But then I saw something that I hadn't seen before. She was actually walking the walk. And I saw how she held on to me as a daughter. I saw how supportive of me she was. Every time I shared in any place that I went to, she was front and center and looking at me with a freaking face of awe. And she looked at me with so much love. And every time I spoke, and I would get nervous, and I would look that she was sitting right there. And it's little moments like that from my friend Kiara and my sponsor Regina that I started to feel like I belonged. It's those little gestures. It's those little words, those little actions. Sometimes a simple smile tells me that you get me. Let us stand together and resolve and try to fix this wave of violence against our people. And I think that it goes beyond just the trans experience. Let's work together to stop the hate, period. We all deserve to be loved. We all deserve to feel like we belong. Once I felt that I belonged, I was able to come to meet me. I was able to see that when they say the sky is the limit, they meant it. The support that I get from the people that I have around me today, it's marvelous. I wouldn't be able to be where I'm at today without that support, without my sisters, without our allies, without, in my case, my higher power. I wouldn't be here. My story has turned 100% around. I never thought that I could wear a badge to work. I never thought I could have a decent job. Again, I didn't see myself in any of these positions prior to, because I didn't see myself, because society excluded me and pushed me and cast me to the side without even asking me, who are you? Without even giving me the opportunity to sit on the table with them. And that's one thing that I love when Maddie says. I love our allies because they can go into spaces that we are not allowed in, and they advocate for us. Today, you see one trans woman in front of you, and you're not able to see the thousands of trans girls that are coming behind me. And that's a responsibility as a community that we have. Remembering that everywhere we step in, we're not stepping alone. We're stepping on the shoulders of the trans women that fought for our rights. And we're paving the way for those women that are coming behind us. Society is always going to try to exclude us. It's time for us to allow that to not stop us, to keep going, to keep hoping. And I do believe that together, as not just as the trans community, but as a community, if we stand together, we can make changes. Some changes already happened this last Tuesday. Even though we didn't get all wins, there were some victories that we won. And you know what? It starts like that. It doesn't have to be, we don't need to war the war like all at once. One battle at a time, one step at a time. Be patient. Be united. Don't allow the hate to come into your heart, because when you allow that to come into your heart, you're not able to see not only the person in front of you, but the person within you. Character, for myself, is my values. And every time I go against them, I feel guilt, I feel shame. So I'm learning to not do that, because I have to hold myself accountable. Just as much as I want you guys to support me, I encourage my sisters to get the help that you need. It starts with us. If we want to make a change, let's become the change that we want to see in others. Let's not get complacent. Those girls already fought for us. It's time for us to bring the battle to them for the ones that are coming behind us. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate every single individual within this room, because it's thanks to you that I'm able to have a platform, that I'm able to have a voice. And I won't be silenced. Whether I'm here or not, whether I'm on the podium or not, I will not be silenced, because my actions speak louder than my words. And there's not those who were silenced be silenced in vain. Those lives made a change. They push us to realize that there's a lot of work that we need to do. Don't give up. Keep going. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for being here. Have a good day. Psych. I am an addict. I do forget things. Drugs, age, a lot of things. So I just wanted to read to you guys a few statistics when it comes to the deaths of our trans individuals. 84% of the victims were people of color. 50% were Black transgender women. 78 were killed with a gun. 78%. 36% of the victims were the killer was someone that they knew. These numbers are quite high, and there's definitely some demographics that we need to work on. Again, representation starts with you. Our allies, you the people that are allowed in places that we're not. So I beg on your mercy and on your character to take us with you into those rooms, to speak of us, and to let them know that, again, trans experience is the human experience. And this time for real. Thank you.
Amber Minor.
Jacob Williamson.
Megan Riley Lewis.
Chanel Perez Ortiz.
Savannah Ryan Williams.
Ashia Davis.
Jean Butchart.
Bonko Brown.
Kiwan Richardson.
Coco Dole.
Amiri Reed.
Ashley Brown.
Lakendra Andrews.
Tasia Woodland.
London Price.
Tortu Gayuda.
Lisa Love.
Chache Ashanti Henderson.
Sherilyn Marjorie.
Maria Jose Rivera.
China Long.
Zachi.
Luis Angel Diaz Castro.
Unique Banks.
Yoko.
Casey Johnson.
Thomas Robertson, Tom Tom.
Jasmine Starr Mack.
Devani Jeray Johnson.
Dominic Dupree, also known as Dominic Palace.
Camden Ryder.
Ani Johnson, also known as Ani Robertson.
We all bleed the same. We're more beautiful when we come together. We all bleed the same. So tell me why we're divided.
Woke up today, another headline, another innocent life is taken in the name of hatred. So hard to take, and we seem to think that it's when we work out mistaken, 'cause our hearts are breaking.
Are you left? Are you right? Pointing fingers, taking sides. When are we gonna realize we all bleed the same? We're more beautiful when we come together. We all bleed the same. So tell me why we're divided. If we're gonna fight, let's fight for each other. If we're gonna shout, let love be the cry. We all bleed the same. So tell me why we're divided. Who are we to judge someone by the kind of clothes they're wearing or the color of their skin? Are you black? Are you white? Pointing fingers, taking sides. So let's open our eyes to see we all bleed the same. We're more beautiful when we come together. We all bleed the same. So tell me why we're divided. If we're gonna fight, let's fight for each other. If we're gonna shout, let love be the cry. We all bleed the same. So tell me why we're divided.
Only love can drive out all the darkness. What are we fighting for? We were made to carry one another. We were made for more.
Only love can drive out all the darkness. What are we fighting for? We were made to carry one another. We were made for more. We all bleed the same. We're more beautiful when we come together. We all bleed the same. So tell me why we're divided. If we're gonna fight, let's fight for each other. If we're gonna shout, let love be the cry. We all bleed the same.
Let's
Stand united. Let's stand united.
If you have any cards filled out, if you will pass them this way, I will gather them and split them with Elgie, and we will answer your questions, and raise your hand, and we will bring the mic to you.
Not you, Georgia. I definitely love Georgia.
She does. She just stands up.
Georgia wants to lead. You go, Georgia.
If we could get the panel to introduce themselves,
Sure.
I would greatly appreciate it. You're definitely going first. You're first in my heart. We're gonna introduce them first.
And then you
We're gonna introduce our panel.
She's ready. I love it. She's ready.
That's right. That's what we need.
That's what we're looking for. Thank you, Georgia.
We love your enthusiasm, though. I'll shut up now so they can introduce themselves.
Do you want me to start? Yeah. My name's Lindsey Montague. I am a mom of 3 amazing boys. My youngest is trans, and I am a member of the Mama Dragons. I affiliate with other local groups that support not just parents of kids who fall into the queer community, but also with youth organizations as well. So that's where my expertise lies.
My name is Maddison Phillips. I am 40 years old, and I have been transitioning now for the last 4.5 to almost 5 years. And I am I'm a big fan of people, family, friends, enemies. Ask me whatever you want, because the only way we can help get rid of this fear is an education on the matter. And so I am an open book and ready and willing to answer anything that you could possibly ask me.
What a challenge, huh?
Mm-hmm.
My name is Deb Bontadelli. I am the mother of 4. My youngest is transgender. Oh, hi. And I'm a member of Mama Dragons, and a member of this church and the LGBTQ plus ministry team, which is awesome.
My name is Hayley Holliday. Georgia already gave me a really wonderful introduction.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trans openly for 10 years now, and every step along the way, I have gotten more support than I expected, and it has been wonderful. So I'm here to speak that out and share that back.
Hi, everybody. I'm Taydin, also Taysha Shaquita Shaki. Golly, where do I start? I've been transitioning since I was 18, so a little bit over more than about 15 years of my life. I come from a Native American background as well as African American background descent. But I'm also very, very open, and I love to just give positive healing vibes to whoever needs it, and ask me anything. Like Maddison said, I'm the goofball too, so I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you raw and uncut. So don't think I'm gonna be hurt. I'm real raw. So that's it.
Elgie,
I love it.
I have 3 for you, 3 for me.
Okay.
Plus we'll go up to the aisle.
And Georgia will start.
Raise their hand.
Definitely.
Georgia,
We had one. Who was it? Oh, Georgia.
I know, right?
All right.
Georgia, how could you forget?
All right. I would like to start off. Thanks for introducing yourselves, but I would like to hear from each one of you what's the most common question you get and the answer that you give.
And we can start in order if you want to.
Okay.
As a mother.
You get to start with you.
Well, yeah, as a mother,
As a mom of
Okay.
transgender?
I think as a mom, I think I get a lot of did you know, those kinds of questions. When did you know? And I don't always answer with the details, but I think the most important thing is, okay, actually, here it is. How did you react? I think that's the most, right? I see all the other mama dragons that I know, like, yes, okay, and how did you react? I think my son would have a different version of how I reacted than I reacted. I had questions when my youngest came out as a non-binary. That wasn't the term that I was prepared for, and I had some learning to do. But ultimately, I hope I've never, ever responded with anything except love. And, okay, now what? I think Co might have a different answer. I think it was a question. But I think it's what do I need to know? What do I need to do next? And also shroud that in just love. So that's been me.
Well, let's find out from the source. Maddison?
I think the question I get the most is, when did you know? And as a trans person, I don't know if you can really answer when, for me, because we don't know as children the idea of gender and identity and sex and all that. So like for me, I can honestly say growing up, I didn't know I was transgendered. I knew I was different, right? I was probably 30 years old and I really thought like I was just a miserable gay man. Like that's what I was, you know? And then this idea of transgender came out and I realized like, I don't know if I could ever pinpoint a moment that I knew I was trans, but I did know when the minute I told my sister I had these feelings, things started to turn for me. A realization came to me. I started becoming more comfortable with my body. Even though I hadn't taken a single pill of hormones, I hadn't done anything to change my body physically, just saying it in that social transition, which is the hardest part for a lot of trans that I know, the social transition. When that started happening, I think is when I started to accept the fact that I was trans. So I don't know if there's a moment in time that I could specifically say, yes, at that moment I knew. Because I don't know. I just know that the minute I said it out loud, things started to become better in my life.
Deb, shameless plug, if you guys want to hear something about Deb, she was actually on our podcast,
Yes.
Trans Experience, and she talks a little bit about this, but I would love to hear it again. And if you want to tell us like what you told us then.
I guess it's easier to say it the second time. The first time was really hard. I've been able to talk to Hayley about it after. Anyway, yeah, the most common question that I get is either, did you have any idea, or how did you react? And I went into shock. I mean, I literally went into shock. I was watching small children. I probably shouldn't have watched them the next day. I think I walked around in a daze. But that night, Hayley chose the day we were celebrating her birthday, her then fiance, and the two of them were there. And so I asked them all kinds of questions because we've always been very close. And so I asked her all kinds of questions that we're not discussing here because I'm sure she was like, Mom. And there was a couple times she was like, Mom. But I felt close enough to her to be able to just ask her questions like, what does this mean? Like when she said I'm trans. Is that transgender? Yeah. So, and then my not very proud moment, I'm going to share that because we all have them, and I like to, we're being vulnerable here, was I just felt sad and I felt scared and I didn't know what to do, and I had a very strong Christian background, and even though I had always felt LGBTQ plus supportive, there was always that, oh, this is not a good thing. So I just was sad and I didn't know what to do. I felt lost. And I took all the pictures off the wall of my family. I have 4 children, and I took all of them off the wall because every time I walked by a picture, my heart just broke. And I told her later, I took them all off the wall because I didn't want you to feel left out. I saw your face and I was sad. I didn't want you to think I didn't love you anymore. And she said, I know, Mom. But the other thing I did was I just cried out to God. What do I do? What do I do? And I heard, audibly, love him. So at the time, I thought about it later, because she's a she, but God came to me where I was, and at that time, I couldn't reconcile that yet. And now she's just she to me all the time. If someone says he, I'm like, he who? Oh, you mean, no, she. So that's my vulnerable.
Thank you.
Hayley?
Yeah, I get a lot of confusion and a lot of most common question is like, of course, like when did you know or how did you know? I got a lot of that from coworkers because I came out, I think it was kind of during the pandemic. I had known before, but during the pandemic, I wasn't at work, but I was figuring myself out. And when I came back, I was ready to come out to people at work. And a lot of coworkers, people I had known previously, were just like, well, how long has this been going on? And I'm not very good at answering that question. I will be very honest about that particular question. Because there's this almost hazy feeling that something's wrong, something's off sometimes. And you can push that away to a lot of different things. That I didn't like my job, that I was having trouble in school, that I was having trouble with relationships who I liked. It's hard to pinpoint that. It's hard to pinpoint exactly, like Maddie said. And that's, I just try to tell people that it's been a little bit, but this is when I felt comfortable. Now is when I feel comfortable to share it. That's my answer.
That's great.
Tay-Tay?
So my first one would be, it's stuck with me since I was a child, was why you act like a girl. They, uncles, aunties, cousins, I screamed, I yelled, I walked, I switched, whatever you call it, I quack like a duck, walk like a duck, I look like a duck. That's what it was for me. And then the other question is, why don't you act like a boy? And when that question came out, it was more of a defensive, I had put this defensive mechanism up where either I was gonna lash out at you and I was young, I was naive, I didn't know how to handle myself. I have a really crazy, unique story too. And that question kind of put me in a lot of positions where I'm at, was at in my past life. And it led me to go to prison. I have a thing with fighting people for calling me boy. I have a thing with people calling me a girl or why I act like a girl. And as little as I am, I always beat them up. So I was always the one that looked like I was more of the aggressor. And it used to tear me so much down because it was like, why do I have to put myself out there and protect myself like this when it's coming from family members that are asking me these questions? Why can't I be protected? Why can't I be loved? Why can't you see me as what I'm showing you? Why can't you accept that? Was the questions that I had to always challenge myself with. It stuck with me. So it was usually those two questions.
Thank you, Tay. We appreciate you guys getting vulnerable like that. Kay, would you like to read one of yours? Unless somebody would like
Yeah, do you have a question from the audience?
A couple. Like it.
Yay, we got
I'm trying to make Kay work, people. No, I'm just saying.
Thank you. First I have to tell you that when I was 24, a long time ago, I read a book about Christine Jorgensen, who was the first transgender in Sweden or Norway or somewhere. It was a most marvelous story, and I've been completely open since then, although I hadn't known anybody transgender. I have a granddaughter who has always been, I want to say odd, but that's the wrong word. She never cared about fashion, so I couldn't buy, I wasn't allowed to buy her anything pink. And she would mix plaids with polka dots and she was just different.
Oh no, don't mess with style.
And so she grew up kind of a loner, and when they made their last move, she was in high school and didn't really find a group. So she sat at a table which I believe, from my understanding, were lesbian women. And her circle of friends on the internet were all lesbian or gay or trans, I don't know. I don't really know. So now she's 23, and some of you have said you were uncertain, you didn't figure it out. That's hard to understand because I knew when I was 5 and the little boy in school pinched me for kisses that I liked boys, and his pinches hurt. So I knew. So here she is at 23, and she's taken hormones to deepen her voice. She's always dressed a little mannish, certainly not feminine. And I am confused, like I'm supportive of her, and she knows I love her. I don't get to see her often because she lives out of state. My question is, I guess, is it possible when she's confused about what her gender identity is, that her circle of friends, the only people who really accepted her, could have in any way influenced her? As far as I know, she never leaves her bedroom. I mean, she is not an outgoing person. She now goes to work, doesn't go anywhere. Is it possible she's so confused because the only people that loved her were lesbian or gay? Or because she still doesn't actually act like she knows what she is?
Judy, thank you. We need to limit them to a minute and a half.
I want to first because you guys can answer that best, but I would like to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
When Hayley first came out, she had done a lot of online things. So my first thinking was, I'm sure it's that online stuff. I'm sure that she thinks that she's trans because, all the girls in the animes are all pretty and stuff. It's easy as a mom, and that's why I wanted to go first, from a mom's point of view or a grandma's point of view, to say, it can't be. It can't be, because in my case, for 24 years, I had a boy. So it's easy to kind of say, I think this happened because of these people. I blamed other people. And then you guys can answer better from the inside how you felt accepted.
Okay, so which one are you ladies?
I'm going to jump in because I think that we need to understand that a lot of people in this community are just looking to belong, right? We're not looking to be trans. We're not looking to be queer. We're not looking to be gay, lesbian. We're not even looking to be straight. We're not looking for any of that. We're looking to belong. And for so many of us, we do not belong, right? There's so many boxes that the world and society put us in that we don't belong in those. And so where do we belong, right? That's a question for ourselves. That's a question for us. And it's going to be different for your granddaughter, right? And that's the other part of this, is that we're all up here as trans women, right? We all came to the same realization on our own journey, though, And so I think that being supportive is what you're trying to do, and it's great, right? But you can't have any expectations for her either, And I think that when we're trying to find a place that we belong, we're going to take in those behaviors and those ideas and those ideals and those frameworks because we do belong, and we want to belong so badly. And so I think that the journey that your granddaughter is on is going to be a long one. I don't want to sugarcoat it for you. It sounds like it's at the very beginning of the process, but we don't want to assume either, right? We don't know what the outcome is going to be, but we also need to allow that journey to be hers, right? And we don't know where it's going to be, but all you can do is do what you're doing, and just be supportive, have the conversations, but don't push at the same time. I'm sure you have something to say.
I can just say it sounds like that, obviously you've known your granddaughter for a long time, and you earlier, recognized these different things that to you were different about her than other, women or small children, or little girls that you knew, or you're familiar with that, and so it should, in a way, a little bit make sense that she is searching for people who have either had similar experiences or otherwise realized that they grew up different than the other stereotypes of what a little girl is. Yeah. And if she's being influenced, I don't think so. That would be, I can't speak individually, but that would be seeking, like Maddie said, people that support her. People who they can talk about the experiences of how they grew up, and they all find something close to each other. something that they recognize in each other.
We had a question here. Sir?
Wait, can I
Go
add
ahead.
one more? I think another way to look at it too is we gravitate to where we feel like we belong. Okay, so if I go and talk to a bunch of people that are golfing, I don't belong there. I don't feel like I belong there. And people say, come on, you can golf, you can do this. No,
You'd be a great
I
caddy.
don't. No, I don't golf, right? I walk into where they sew and they're creative, and I belong there. So people around me may be like, I didn't know you sew, but I belong there. I feel like I belong there. I'm going to be around those people that sew and craft because that's where I belong. And other people think, well, you should be golfing. I don't want to golf. I can't. No. And I know that's a little simplistic, but that might help understand why she gravitates toward those people, maybe.
When you do speak up there, we've asked a request back here, please speak a little louder. It is a little hard to pick you up.
Okay, if you can give me 1 second. I will ask from our crowd and our panel to please be mindful of the time. We want to get as many questions as we can so that we can answer them. We are on a time limit, so please be mindful of that so that way we can answer as many questions as possible. Good? All right.
Hi. Most people don't give me a mic. I got quite the voice. Many years, well, I should say 2 of my 3 kids are gay. Trans is kind of new to me, what's going on. But many years ago, I was part of the Colorado AIDS Project, and it was a buddy system. And I had a young man who was actually the same age as my middle child, and he had no family support. He had none. The only one that supported him was his grandmother, and she passed away. I was wondering if there's anything like that for the trans people. I mean, reading these lists of people that have passed away, is there anything that I could be paired with somebody that's trans that needs somebody who's not going to judge them, who, like you were saying, belonging? Poor Danny, half the time I forgot he was gay, so anyway, that's what I'd like to do.
Okay, so which one of you ladies would like to answer that one? Do any of you guys know of a buddy system that for trans individuals? I mean, if I can answer that a little bit, that's a great idea. I'm not aware that we have any of that, but you know what? It's definitely a great idea. Go ahead.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
no, I mean, well, we do, there is trans support system groups that we do have throughout Phoenix, probably just throughout the Metroplex anyway, and probably throughout the United States. But there's places where you can go where girls are actually that want to look for help like that need support from other trans women. I know, just as us girls up here, when we come around girls like that, we're so clean to hurry up and clink them to us, or we try to make them feel welcomed and, just as much love as possible, that belonging, like we said, that's really just what it is, it's when people look for that and we show them that, then it brings more, it attracts more to us, and we have a support group like that, and we actually got girls coming in, and it's awesome to see that, and that's our buddy system. I feel like that's kind of what we look for, lean towards in our community.
I think that the question is more relying on, as an ally, do we have any groups that support, because amongst trans girls, we have trans support groups that, where we hold each other up. But I think this is more from the outside. What can they do to create spaces where they can have a big brother, big sister kind of relationship, Go ahead, Ms.
I don't think, and I'm not familiar with one either yet, but I know one organization that our family's involved with, and and it's listed, I believe, on your program, is the 1 in 10 organization.
1 in 10's
We
great.
love it, and that serves all the LGBTQIA youth from I think 11 all the way through 24, and they have different. So that right now is a donation, but they also have volunteer opportunities. Check out their website, and they have satellite locations literally opening in almost every part of the state. So
And just as a reminder, if anything that our panel says resonates with you and you would like more information about it, we're going to have some time after the panel for you guys to be able to meet and ask them whatever questions and for you guys to get more resources. I have a question back here from Andrea.
Hello. One question that I had is, how did you feel the first time that you went into a public bathroom as the transgender? And also, I wanted to say that I'm older, so I did used to stare, at people. I thought, oh, that's a man. Why is that man dressed like that and stuff? I don't feel that way now, but does that still happen to you?
I'll go first.
Okay, so
this is a good one. Only because for me the first time in the restroom was kind of like a how do you say, a thriller, like a scary movie. And in my head it was like dun dun dun, like, and it was like I felt the staring and I felt it. But then at the same time, I was like, well, if I go in the men's room, it's going to be the same different. But then I'm going to have to fight. And they're going to lose because I'm going to beat you up. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm going to go to jail. So it was like, I don't want that. And then it's like, so, and I'm portraying myself, not portraying I am who I am. I'm a trans person. So it's like, why would I be going into that and putting myself in danger, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm presenting myself as this is who I am. So I mean, it's like, why is it so confusing? But that's another subject to get to.
All right, so let's hear from Hayley.
I'm scared of a lot of things all the time, and my first experience going into a women's restroom in public was no different. Bless every location that had a family or unisex stall that I could just slip into and get my business done. It was petrifying, and it feels like a check. How am I presenting? Is my hair long enough? Did I shave this morning? What kind of pants am I wearing? Is the shirt slimming enough? Everything that's like a mental check to say, will anyone question why I'm there? And I think for a lot of trans women that are starting out and trying out different things, it's like a rush to try to present the way that you want to present, so that if you're in there, at least like if someone questions you, they say, well, look at how I'm dressed. Why do you think I'm in here? That was always my mentality, kind of similar to you. This one's on you.
Mine was horrible. So I would not use a female restroom until my gender marker and my birth certificate were changed to female. But there was an incident just months before that. I was at a Safeway, I was shopping, and my body, well, never trust a fart after 40, right? So I got to a point though where I had no choice. I had to use the restroom. Right, and I also knew that I looked like this now, so I couldn't use a men's restroom. I'm in the women's stall, and the next stall next to me, I can hear a woman come in. She was, because of my addiction, I'm also 4 years clean and sober, but in my addiction, there was a woman that came in next to me. It was very clear that she was homeless. It was very clear that she was using, and she had used in that restroom next to me. I saw her body go limp because of an overdose. I chose to protect myself, and I made sure to get out of the bathroom so that I could call the emergency services so they didn't know I was in that bathroom because my gender marker still said male. That's how scared I was of those bathrooms. I was willing to allow this woman next to me to overdose to protect myself. And that's not okay, right? Whether I made the right decision or not is not what we're here for. The fact of the matter is I made that decision, and I had no qualms about it because I had to protect myself, right?
Yeah, and
Thank you for
you want me
sharing.
to get it? I got you, Kay.
Story, but it gets me every time.
Tuesday was a really hard day, and I just want to hear.
We can't hear you.
Tuesday was a hard day, and it's early, but I'd like to hear just some short actions that you will take or you have suggestions for allies to help in the next 4 years?
Okay, so we can get, let's see, Maddison, would you like to answer?
Mine's super quick.
Shortly.
Tuesday did not go my way, right? But it also did, because in Delaware, Sarah McBride is the first trans woman elected to Congress.
Woo!
I don't know her, but damn do I love her, right? But she said recently that America is entering into a conversation about trans people that they did not know was coming, right? So how do we enter that conversation? How I enter the conversation is I come from a family that is hard right Republican, Trump-loving country, okay? I'm not changing them. I know, though, that on Tuesday they went into a booth and they voted for their wallet over me. A choice was made. They have to sleep with that, though. They have to sleep with the fact that they would rather protect their bank account than their own grandchild, daughter, niece, auntie, whatever you want to call it. They chose their wallet over me. I know that in my heart of hearts, I would never do that to them. That's on them. I'm not taking that energy. That's not my energy. That is theirs.
Wait, so I was not supposed to vote for Trump? No.
Too soon? Too soon.
I'll go. Tuesday was, I work for the city of Phoenix. I work at 911 Dispatch, and there's some pretty characters up there. And I, too, was upset. And the thing that I can say is the faith that I got, the background that I come from, the religion, and two types of traditional people that I come back from, it always ties me back down to remember that no matter what this world comes down to, I'm walking this earth by myself. Like, no matter president, whatever, I'm very traditional too, because I'm Hopi, I'm Native American, and in our culture, stuff like that doesn't impress us. Presidents of course it's gonna be for the United States of America, but in real reality, all the generations, all the people, all together, that's how we're gonna heal this world. So all my faith, all my love, all I can do is just keep walking, keep having my head up high. I know I'm living in kind of like this scary, frantic doubt that I have every day that something might happen, but I'm ready to face that challenge when it's coming forth for it, when it does come. Because at least I know that on Tuesday I did do what I was supposed to do.
Amen.
And at the end of the day, it shows what people's egos and minds is really true for right now in this world. And so it just lets us know as a diverse community to just always remember like what we really fight for, you know, and how we love and how we're gonna make sure that we do get these people on the same level as we are mentally, and make sure that we walk this earth with them in good hands and just love one another and have my faith. So
all right, and if I just may say one more thing to that, just the same way that I said earlier, we survived Stonewall, we survived the AIDS pandemic, and we did that united. That's how we overcome. Things like this are always going to challenge us. Adversity will always bring unity. And as long as we stick together, as long as we support each other, they can put whoever they want in office. If we survive the Spice Girls bleeding up, we can survive this, okay? Your turn.
Wait, I wanted to jive in on, because you said, what can allies do? Mm-hmm. And I woke up Wednesday morning just devastated. What country am I going to move from? Where am I going to And my husband told me, and I said, no, I'm sorry, you didn't get it right. Go back and look again. And then Hayley comes out. I'm like, Hayley, and she says, I know, I heard. And I'm like, she's like, Mom.
You want to share? You want me to share what I said?
Yes.
I said to her, because I had heard the news before I got up in the morning, and honestly, it seemed like I had friends and family around me panicking more than I was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I said, yeah, we don't like the results, but I'm sitting here with my cup of coffee, and I'm going to have breakfast afterwards, because I'm on vacation with my parents, who brought me down here for this event. And afterwards, we're going to go out because you have some things planned for us today, and we're going to have food, and we're going to eat together, and we're going to come back home, and we're going to enjoy ourselves, because no news no news can prevent us from living life.
Mm-hmm.
And no news takes away who we are.
And then when we were out in the mall, we came across some people and shared. And I came back and I said, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
One person at a time, we are going to make sure that people are known and people are loved. And I'm going to do that every single day, one at a time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it was Brene Brown that's like, you can't hate people up close, so lean in. And I really just think you guys are here hearing these stories. Tell your loved ones where you came today. Share their stories, because they're giving you permission to share their stories. Can I just go back to the bathroom thing really quick?
Please do.
I think that now that like your eyes have been open, all of our, you know that there are, I mean, sometimes like we all get put into vulnerable positions, but like, as this is for allies, anyone, if you are in a space and you feel that you are with someone who is more vulnerable than you, just be a presence, be a body, stay in that. I talk to moms of trans and queer kids all the time who, we just stay in the bathroom until everyone's exited, and you don't even have to say anything. Just be your eyes and ears, and wash your hands for a really long time.
20 seconds, people. Okay.
And I want to say something to add on to what you just said with the buddy system like that. Like if you see something like that in the restroom and you see a girl like that in there and start a conversation really quick with them, like distract people and get the laughing, like get people to see the good spirit. You know what I'm saying? When you're in there and you have these mean frowns in the restroom, like we all know you gotta pee, but we don't want to be mad more. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not going in the restroom to be paying attention to how you look. I'm going in there because I need to use the tinkle. Like just
make sure that
and then I'm coming right back out. I'm gonna go do my business.
Just make sure that if you do start conversation, it's after, not before. Remember, don't trust whatever at 40. Go ahead,
I just
Maddison.
want to close that bathroom conversation with, there's some data and statistics out there that show there was more than 75 reported crimes in 2023 in Arizona of trans violence in men's bathrooms. There was 0 reported in women's bathrooms. So, where are the allies exactly? Like you were mentioning the buddy system, right? You don't have to say anything out loud, ever. We know when we're in a safe company.
Thank you. Go ahead, Miss.
That actually leads to the question I had. I see all of you up here, trans women, and I hear you talking about the sisterhood, which as women, we're mostly in this audience are familiar with. I very seldom hear about trans men. I see trans women portrayed on television, very seldom ever trans men. Are there fewer? Are they less in a sister brotherhood?
I want to say something on that because I have a trans friend, well, 2, 3, a guy, and they're guys. The thing with the trans men is they're very private. They're very, very, very private, probably because let me be very vulnerable. Only because trans men, transitioning into a man from a woman, you still have your feelings, you know what I'm saying? And as in statistics goes, women move emotionally. So it's like when they're in a position where it's against tactics or people are against them, they're kind of not with the big crowds, or they want to keep secluded to themselves, and it works for them. And I have cousins and aunties and or like that have transitioned into being trans men, and they're but few of them. You know what I'm saying? They're always by themselves. And I've always wondered that too. Like, why are the trans men not so out there? Like you see them, but they're not there.
Okay, so if I may jump in and ask
Lindsay.
Miss Lindsay, I remember her. She's Loan. Go ahead, Miss Lindsay.
Oh, no, I've met many. I also have met many of my own child's friends who are, trans teen boys, or they are gender fluid, or they're non-binary, and they are expressing themselves and how they're comfortable. I think, and I do know more of the Gen Z group right now because that's where my world is. And I'm just gonna say like what I'm like young Gen Z boys and millennial boys right now are being, what is a real man? What is a man? What is a boy? Are you strong? Are you alpha? Are you like? There's a lot of targeting on what does it mean. I know it goes both ways. This is just what I see, okay? And it's really hard for someone who's young and hasn't. It's harder to transition fully as a teenager or a young adult, you know, depending on your family. Anyway, all the situations. It's just harder to maybe what is the word? Assimilate into a group that is being told you're not a man enough if you're not at the gym every day or if you're not. It's a rough go for I think both the groups, but I think it's the boxes. I feel like the boxes of how you're supposed to fit in are being reinforced right now by forces that are really loud. And that's unfortunate. And so maybe that could be, like, the privacy aspect is maybe some trans kids, boys, going in, they just don't feel like that's their group yet. So they're not as open or public or, you know, public facing.
So to address this in the demographic that we're speaking about, the thing is that there are less spaces available for trans men than there really are for trans women. And that's a reality. That's another demographic where we need to work on. You know what I mean? Sadly to say, but trans men usually slip through the cracks. We are loud. You know, most of us, we allow our voice to be heard. But, and I don't want to be too focused on the gender, but trans boys were females. And that comes with, you ladies have barely started to get a voice. You know what I mean? We've always had our voice, whether we're trans or not. Like, we've always had that voice to assure that we can do that. So maybe encouraging, and as you said earlier, creating spaces where we can be more mindful of them. Because even as trans girls, we sometimes forget our brothers. You know what I mean? So that's definitely an area that we need to work on and create those spaces so that they can be lifted up as well. And like she said, it has a lot to do with age. You know, it has a lot to do with who am I today? Because as what is it that we're called? Gen Z, is that what we're called?
Oh, no. Like Gen Z are teenagers?
Yeah, like him and me.
Millennials, Gen X.
She's trying to give herself a compliment.
LG, I have a question. Two of my questions that are on my page have been answered. Okay. I want to know if you have a question on a card that hasn't been addressed. Yes. While we see if there are other questions.
Definitely. There's one that is going to go to my sisters. And just to let you know, Tay and Maddison are the other hostesses of Trans Experience. Shameless plug.
It's a human experience.
So, at what point in your dating do you tell your date that you're trans, and how do you do it?
Oh, this is my favorite one.
Okay, hold on, give me 1 second. Let's have Hayley answer first, then we'll have Maddison, and we'll leave you for last.
Go ahead, Hayley. Oh, sorry, I thought you said, okay. I feel like that's an intense question. I haven't had a lot of relationships. I was with one partner who knew I was trans before we actually got together. And so I am fortunate that I'm not going to have that conversation a lot because I try to be so openly trans. Even if I get to a point where I can walk out the door and no one can even suspect that I had this journey. I'm going to be openly trans because I want other people to see that in me. So I can't speak that much on it. But,
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Maddison?
Mine's complicated, but I try to have that conversation very early on, very, very early, for my safety, for nothing else. And I always lead it with, just so you know, so that we're both on the side of respect and being upfront and honest. If we're going to dive into this world of a relationship, I am trans and I have not had any surgeries. So I can be very clear about what they're expecting, because some of the situations that some of our sisters get into are because they so badly want to be loved. As the woman that they have chosen to be, that they put their safety on the back burner, right? They're afraid to say this because they just want to be loved. They just want to be loved. And now there's this man that loves them, says he does, and I don't think it's intentional. I think that they just want that emotion, to wake up to that text, to wake up to that phone call, knowing that there's this person out there that loves them, and they avoid the conversation. And so for me, it's for my safety. I did have a gentleman that I worked with at my last job where I could not be out as trans for my own safety. I worked for a very Republican company, and I knew that if my coworkers knew, that there would be problems. And there was a gentleman that was hitting on me a lot, flirting with me a lot. I knew if I said something, that there would be a problem. And so I had to balance it though. I had to not tell them, but I also had to play into the flirt, because if I didn't, he would feel rejected, and then that also becomes a problem, right?
Okay.
So it's a double-edged sword for some. It really is.
All right, Ms. Tay?
Yeah, so I'm very open with mine. I learned at an age, probably it was like maybe 16 or something, and I was doing my ways, and I was with a guy, and he pulled 2 guns out on me. Like, he pulled both of them out like this, and then turned on me. And luckily I am here today, and that has instilled fear in me for the longest. So at a young age, I've always told myself, like, to keep my safety, I'm always gonna put it where people can see that I'm trans, I'm transgender. I have it all over on all my platforms. Also, whenever a guy is trying to date me or anything, or they come up to me and I tell them, like, hey, this is what I am, and then they get like they get mad first. And I have to remind them, remember, you came to me. I didn't come to you. You came over here messing with me, and I told you what I was, and now you can't accept that, so it just lets me know what's really going on. So therefore, it just lets me know that I have to move around. Because if your significant other or partner is going to get very defensive when you tell them, then I don't need to be cahootsing with you, or you don't need to be in my vicinity, because I'm crazier than you.
I believe there's a young person with a question.
It's about them.
Finally, somebody like within my age range.
Okay, I know everyone's different, and I know it's very different with you and like trans girls up there, and me since I'm a trans man and you're a trans woman. But how do you deal with dysphoria? I don't know if that's too personal.
This is a good question.
The question was, how do you deal with dysphoria?
May I take this one for a minute?
Yeah.
You might want to explain
Yeah,
dysphoria first.
The dysphoria is, for example, can you explain it? Because I don't have Google with me.
The dysphoria is a feeling that, like for me, when I wake up in the morning, I have to shave my face. I have to battle that dysphoria because my face is making me feel very manly, right? I can feel the stubble growing. And so it makes me go, oh my God, what am I doing? Who am I? Where am I at? Why am I feeling these things? There's an anxiety attached to it. And it's an everyday battle, right? I walk into here very confident because I've already dealt with the dysphoria in the morning. I've already had to shave my face. Like, shaving your face is not like shaving your legs, right? It's a different emotion that's attached to my facial hair that I have to deal with every day, and that's a dysphoria. If I explained it wrong, please correct me, but it's an anxiety-ridden thing. It's different for all of us, right? For trans men, trans women, non-binaries, gender fluids, we all have a sense of dysphoria attached to our identities because we are born in one body that does not connect to our emotions or our spirits or our mental awareness, right?
How you feel.
And how you feel. We are making decisions, life-changing decisions on how we feel. There's no science behind it yet. There's no proof that I'm allowed to call myself a trans woman in this room, right? There's nothing scientific behind it. But at the same time, I always ask people, like, so how do you know you love somebody, right? You have a feeling. So we're making life-altering decisions on a feeling. And that feeling comes in waves, right? Today's a great day. I didn't mind shaving my face today because I know that we've seen all y'all, right?
Yeah.
And we're happy to see you too.
So I think that the best way that I can describe it for myself, I know you guys haven't noticed, but I'm a plus size girl. So I've always kind of had like a dysphoria, not just with my gender, but with the body, period. And when it came to my gender identity, what I needed to understand is that I don't have to experience my womanhood the way that anybody else does. I think that every perception and every notion that I have of gender identity comes through society assigning me a role, and I have to meet this role, and I have to look this way, and I have to look that way. Thank God I was raised in an environment with my dad and my mom. It was a two-income household. My dad was a construction worker. My mom worked at an office. My dad actually built our house. So if my dad was out there mixing cement, so was my mother. If my dad was washing the dishes, so was my mother. So I never really had like specific gender roles to follow. So when I grew up, like it was easier for me to understand that as a trans girl, there's a lot of, and I hate this term, but I have to use it, cisgender women that actually battle with facial hair. There's a lot of women that battle with having not much on the heart area. So I needed to understand that we all have different experiences, and my transition does not have to look like your transition. I had to become into love with myself and with who I am today. And it's not about not having that dysphoria, because I'm gonna have it, of course, but I no longer allow it to chain me to the wall and to not let me live my daily life. If I have to shave, I'll shave, and if I don't, then you know what, I just say I'm Italian, you know?
Right here.
Yeah, another.
We'll get one of their answers, and then we'll.
So, like, I love this question because my dysphoria, like, I don't talk about my dysphoria because I've learned how to keep it, and I've learned how to love it, and I've learned how to hate it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like like Maddison said, certain days I wake up and I'm like, oh, I gotta shave this 5 o'clock shuttle, my legs are hairy, like, I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. Sometimes I don't like shaving my legs. They're not shaved right now, but who's gonna tell? Only me. You know what I'm saying?
I relieved you on that one.
So that's my dysphoria is because it's like women have nice legs, so I'm gonna go out in public and I'm gonna have these hairy monkey legs, and it just irritates me. So, but I have to remember that I come first, and I always have to remember that my love is first. So if I can't love myself first, then why am I expecting somebody else to love me?
Ooh.
So when I come in a room, I demand it. I demand my respect, I demand my love, and I always remember that I am this trans person, and if you don't like it, there's the door.
So Tay, you mean to tell me you don't have furry boots on?
Oh, yeah, with my furry boots and my...
We have another question here.
Right here.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hayley. Go ahead.
I just want to follow up because you did preface that we'd have different experiences as a trans man to a trans woman. I love being a work in progress.
Amen.
And
I love that.
if I look at myself, I don't like the way I look. I know I'm pushing towards something better. And I can keep up that confidence. What I wanted to look like as a trans person, my transition goal is different than when I started. And it's changed, and it's still continuing to change what I want to look like. And so I don't rely on this is the shape I am and this is bad, even though it can get to me, of course. Because I know I'm still pushing forward, and the standards that it seems like I should adhere to, they're not even my standards. They're standards pushed by the world, and some of them I like. Some of them I'm like, you know what, I do want to look pretty, and so you kind of have to pick and choose and realize: is this coming from within me? Is this coming from outside of me? What do I want, and how do I push forward to get there?
Well said, sister. We have another question.
It's more of a comment, and it's too much information, but you're revealing yourself, so I can reveal myself. As Elgie said, women, I have a niece who has a beard that could compete with anyone. But for myself, A few years ago, I was in the car in the sunlight, and my daughter was in the back seat, and she started laughing, and she said, "Mom, you need to shave your face." As you get older, a lot of women get kind of a peach fuzz. And so every time I'm in the shower, I shave my face, and I've never had a beard, but I've got the peach fuzz. And so
We,
do a lot of
right, okay. LG, we need to watch our time here.
Yeah, I checked with them,
Okay.
and they said that we have 2 more hours to go.
I think there was a pretty important question on a piece of paper. What unique ways have you found to build resilience facing your inside and the visible outside challenges in your life? What do you lean into?
Oh, that's a beautifully stated question. I move into knowing that I push forward in knowing that I am not the only one. It can definitely feel like it, but even visiting here, meeting you guys, it's that community that helps me push forward. There's a lot of trans history to learn about. I'm sort of just learning, even though I've called myself transgender for 10 years now. There's so much history that I just haven't even explored, from Stonewall to the AIDS crisis, but even back way farther, as recorded history goes, where they didn't use the same words, they didn't even have the same sort of cultural impact, but we see that people have been changing genders. People have been saying, I don't feel like I fit into this, I'm gonna do this again. And I feel like I'm part of a legacy. And that's the resilience I find, is that I will not be stamped out because we never have.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Maddie?
I think it's important that finding the resilience for yourself first. I didn't become trans so I could be part of the spokesperson panel of the movement, right? I just wanted to live a better life. I just wanted to live with more meaning. I wanted to have more purpose. And I knew that the life I was living before my transition was not it. I had no purpose, I had no goals. I didn't even care if I lived or died, right? And I think now, though, my resilience comes from the idea of knowing that there's someone out there that's struggling as hard as I did in my 20s and 30s to figure out what I was, much less who I was. And so the resilience comes from knowing that I don't ever have to be that person again, right? But now that I'm here, I need to find those people that are hurting to help them see. You don't have to be trans to be struggling with your identity, right? It's not just a trans thing that we struggle with. It's an identity, right? And we're not the only ones.
Yeah.
Like you were saying earlier, like what makes a man? What makes a woman? Why are we looking for definitions to things that only that person can describe for you?
Come on.
Right? I am not going to tell you what a man is, just like I'm not going to let you tell me what a woman is.
Mm.
And that's where the resilience comes from for me.
Thank you. Ms. Tay?
My resilience comes from living the life that I love and the love that I live.
Amen.
I just, I walk every day in my true being of who I am. My grandma, before she passed, and when I came out to her and I told her, and she too has her ways, but she sat me down and she said, "Baby, if you're gonna be a woman, you be the best woman." But she said some other words. And she said,
Elaborate.
And no. She said, if you're gonna be it, be the best that you are gonna be.
Yes.
And from that moment on, that's where I got my resilience from, because I get to walk this life completely comfortable with who I am, because the only persons that brought me into this world gave me that acceptance, so I don't need anybody else's acceptance. So I just truly am who I am, and whoever I come across or whoever I meet, I wish that I can shake your hand,
Amen.
and leave in complete awe, or I left something beautiful with you, because that's what I want to be able to leave this earth with, when I do leave this earth, is that somebody does remember that, oh, that girl, that trans woman, she was, you know, that's what I want. I want my legacy to be on something like that.
Thank you. And if I can finish that question, for myself is, my resilience comes from my higher power that gives me the peace, and for me not engaging in pointless battles, whether it's internal battles or external battles. Here's the thing. There's things that I can fix and change about myself today, and there's certain things that I cannot. Accepting that is what helps me to be resilient. Yes. Setting myself with short-term goals so that way it doesn't seem unreachable. Being realistic, you know, of who I am and what I want, but also understanding that I am not going to change the world. I can make a difference, but the impact that I have as a single individual will trickle down through generations. And I'm okay with that. I think that accepting what it is today is what makes me resilient, because I do what I need to do today so that tomorrow can be a better day for myself.
Okay. Elgie, did you have any questions on your cards? My questions were all addressed. Is there...
Any last questions?
So
Any
one of the
last
questions from the audience, any questions?
Can I just make a comment? I don't have a question.
Yeah. Definitely. So.
Because since you're all gay, and since you're all trans women, that's a different part of the picture. I have a trans nephew. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was pretty loud, so I don't have to use this.
I could hear you better than anybody.
I have a beautiful trans nephew who's 40 in Tucson. I've seen his process his whole life, and he's with a partner 5 years now. The thing I just want to comment on is they're traveling right now, and when they do things, there's a greater, I believe, danger to them because they're in men's restrooms. They might be looking affectionate at a restaurant in a place there. We were in Puerto Rico recently. So I don't know why. I just wanted to say, since we don't have a representative of every kind of trans person, my sister-in-law and I worry a lot about Tony. Tony's about 5'4", his partner's about 6 foot. Just little things, but things that when they're out and around, I think, oh man, I'll have to kill them if they mess with Tony. Mm-hmm. So anyway, a comment. Thank you for listening.
Just yell it out to start talking.
Well, just really quick on that comment, I just want to say that you're absolutely right that there is an underrepresentation of trans men, right? But we need to find the men out there that are willing to come forward, because just because violence is happening to trans women doesn't mean it doesn't happen to trans men. There's no social acceptance that is higher for any kind of trans person, right? None of us are able to get out of this unscathed, right? So I absolutely agree with you. But on the flip side of that, the trans men, I as a trans woman cannot speak for a trans man, right? We need them to come forward. We need to encourage that conversation, right? Because they feel even more unsafe in these rooms, even though we are trying to provide that acceptance and that love. We do need them to make that first step. And I feel like that with anything, right? With my family being hard right Republicans, I had to make the first step. I had to say, it's okay, Grandma and Grandpa, because you're 85 years old to still call me the name that I was given at birth, right? I have to decide that that's going to be okay for the rest of my life, that I have them. And trans men, I want them in the rooms, but I'm not going to force it either. You know, we need their voice in here, but I can't speak for them. And so I encourage you to tell your trans nephew, hey, I just went and saw these really great panels, but they didn't have a trans man on it. Right? We need that.
Not because we left them out.
No,
we just couldn't find one.
Exactly. Like there's for no fault of us not trying, right? And so like if you know a trans man, we need to encourage that.
The current president of the organization Equality Arizona is Michael Soto. He also works, and he's trans. He's about my age, and he works with like some government. He goes back and forth between Washington. He helped when Mesa passed their, and I don't know all, but Mesa was in the news like a few years ago with all of the anti-trans hate while they were trying to pass like bathroom policies in government. It was before we moved here, but there are many people who were involved in that, and they were trans men. They're just they're in Mesa. You know, no, they're a little further away. But Equality Arizona, if you want to look that up, you'll find Michael's name, you'll find some other names, and
Could be helpful and supportive for you now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just want to say that I'm kind of like a late bloomer. I came out in my early 40s, and it wasn't easy. I felt isolated. I feel like I was really going on hell all by myself. Mm-hmm. And if this is how I feel just to become a lesbian, I cannot imagine the things that you go through. And I am so proud to have this wonderful friend, okay? And I admire her because I see the goals that she has achieved, and I'm just so glad to have her as a friend.
She's talking about my husband, actually. I have a question about going through an airport as you were transitioning. And because your driver's license or your birth certificate might not always match how you look. And getting through TSA, I have a 40-year-old trans daughter, and she's finally changed. She came out non-binary, then but basically, she just doesn't travel. But now her birth certificate and her driver's license all matches her being female. But now because of the election, now again they won't travel. Anyway, I'm just wondering, how do you guys get through, I say guys just like you do, Deb.
That's okay.
You know, it's my upbringing. How does everybody get through the airport and the TSA and passing?
I had an experience with this. I was actually with Oxford House at the time, and I was going to Washington, D.C., and I was going through, and they were patting me down, and they were looking at me, and I'm talking, and everybody can already clock my T because of the way I talk. You know what I'm saying?
That's a new term for me.
Clock my T if they can tell who I am, you know, or like they already know or whatever. So I'm going through the thing, and the lady's trying to scan my ID. She's scanning it, but she's looking at my picture. And on my old ID, I was like maybe 16, 17 years old, and I had my fresh fade, and I had a red cute shirt on, and you know, so I was like, so when she was looking at the ID, she's looking at me, and then she's like, she's going back and forth, and then she calls her supervisor, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? Everybody that was in Oxford House has already been passed. I'm the last one in the back, and I'm like tripping, and she's like, girl, you almost got left here because we were gonna let you go because you don't match the picture. And I'm like, what? For a picture? And it really just like, it threw me off, and I kind of was mad because I'm like, well, I'm telling you, this is me. Like, why would I like, and it was a lady too, and she's like, she kind of was like, it kind of rubbed me off, and I kind of snapped on her, and I started going, because at that point, I'm like, I felt like you were attacking who I was, and so I was like, you know what, this lady she didn't even ask, like, she just blurted it out in front of everybody, like, oh, you're a man, like, and I'm like, nah, like, in front of everybody, and it kind of just, like, made me so mad. I went off on her, and then when the supervisor came, and then he, like, looked at the ID, he was like, no, just let her go. Just let her go. And I was like, oh, and I had no shoes on. Like, they then took me to the back room. I'm standing in the back room, like, what's really going on? And I'm like, and then my friend that I was with, she's a girl, and I'm like, girl, they didn't even do you. Like, why'd they do me like that?
Well, they scanned me all right.
I just want to say that I am so impressed with you ladies and how you represent. Just before I came here today, the television was blaring, and that guy that got elected came on and said that this whole thing about LGBT and trans had been invented by the radical left just recently. That is how stupid they are. So stop and realize how smart you are to have come up with the solutions and finding the ways and finding how to make something work that maybe didn't work. That level of creativity is what drives the soul to greatness. And I just want to point you all in that direction because that's where you're headed and you're well on your way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if I may, I got arrested here in 2022. It's not the TSA, but it's close. And when the cop ran my ID, he comes back, and mind you, I come from California. When I moved here, it was still considered a red state. The individuals looked like they voted for our president. Too soon? Okay. And he goes into his car, and he comes back, and he's like, "There's a problem with your ID. It's coming back as if you're male." And to be honest with you, because I was still in my addiction, and I might have allegedly again be under the substances, I closed my eyes, and I was like, okay, let the beat down come down. And this is how important it is to have allies. And it's not about understanding my community, it's about understanding humanity. Because everything that I did after that point was cry. Not because the bad treatment, but because I couldn't believe that in a state such as this, these men did not know anything about my community, but they understood humanity. And they treated me with the respect that I didn't have for myself. They treated me with dignity, and they were so cautious of my comfort that I couldn't believe that I was experiencing it. That's the impact that each one of you guys have. You don't need to understand me. Just love me the way that I am. And I think that that's what we're trying to promote here. Because just the same way that we say, how can I love him? It's because he loved me first. Any closing thoughts from the panel?
I wanted to just do on the TSA thing. I do know from other mama dragons who've, been like, what do I do with my child's traveling? That basically you just have to tell your TSA agent, biologically, this is what I am, and they just change the little code, and then you can go on through.
All right, there you go. We're good? All right, so please let's give a round of applause to our panel. Thank you, Tay, Hayley, Miss Deb, Maddison, Miss Lindsey. Thank you, Kay, for the support. Thank you, everyone that participated. And
Thank you.
with all the heart, let's see them out.
Yes, hold on to that on your way out.
Whichever way you guys feel more comfortable with.
Just don't go straight out.
We're at the end. Thank you so much for hanging in there. It's been a couple hours. I've seen a few more than just this 72-year-old having to run back to the back. First of all, Hayley and Elgie, thank you. And our incredible panelists. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the hardworking members of the LGBTQ plus ministry team that made this event possible. I have a special thank you to Deb Bontadelli. She organized this and made sure that everything went smoothly. And thank you, Deb, for that. She had a great team that supported her: Diana Grattinger, Kay Klinkenborg, Jessica Herman, and Mark Mikowski. Thank you so much for being on the team putting this together. And Reverend Jim, thank you, as always, for your encouragement and support. I'm going to leave you with this quote. Let us honor those we lost by fighting for a world where every voice is heard, every identity respected, and every life celebrated. In their memory, we rise stronger together. Thank you, Maddie, for that quote. Okay, we're at the moment we've all been waiting for. No. We are going to draw a ticket for this beautiful quilt, and if you haven't seen it, would you like to pull the winning ticket?
Are we doing the pony first, or are
we're
we
going
doing?
to do the quilt first.
Okay. So can you do me a favor? Can you get my quilt ticket so I can make sure it matches?
No, I want your quilt ticket. We're going to be watching that hand carefully.
So is God, so I can't. All right.
You have to be present to win?
Yes.
No.
If they're not here, then I'll take it to them. Read the number. This is cheating.
This is cheating.
He just saw you pick it. Who is it?
Deb.
23491. We're gonna need a ticket. If you don't have your ticket, we won't.
She's making up the rules.
The name is. I'll say the name, but you can say the last name because that's a challenge for me. Deb
Bontadelli.
I'm not even kidding, bro. Yes. When do I get my $100 that you promised?
I'm very excited because I want to donate this quilt to one of our mama dragons. We have Wrapped in Hugs, and they make quilts for moms in crisis. So I'm going to hang on to it and hug it for a while, but I think it needs to go to a mom in crisis.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next is this hand crocheted,
that is a cute,
lovely pony.
All right. You can't have one. Co?
Co or row?
Row, I row. Let me know when I start to get close.
It's
a 707 number? Wait,
Is
so the
that
last,
you?
what are the last ticket? The last three are 832.
Congratulations.
Okay, so that concludes my participation. Thank you, everyone, again. I appreciate you. Huh? The foyer is the back room, just to let
Yes.
you know.
We have refreshments in the foyer, as we were requested to call it. We call it the Narthex. And please enjoy connecting and communicating with everybody here. It's been a marvelous experience for me, and I'm so excited that you were here to experience it.
One more thing. Let's all thank Georgia as well for doing a great job with us.